Hello everyone, it's Jeanette Camping here from Henry Stewart Events. I'm delighted to welcome you to our latest webinar, Accelerating the Creative Workflow, Connecting Your DAM, MAM, PIM with Marketing Operations. We're pleased to have almost 200 DAM professionals registered today. Just a couple of housekeeping points before we get started. We'll take some questions at the end of the session, so please send them through on your GoToWebinar panel at any time during the presentation. And this webinar is being recorded, and you'll all be sent a link to the recording tomorrow. Now I'd like to welcome our speakers, Andreas Michalski and Frederick Zanwi. Thank you both for joining us, and over to you, Andreas.
Hello, and thanks a lot for all of you joining that webinar today. Thanks, Jeanette, for doing the introduction. Thanks, Frederick, that you're able to help us a little bit with explaining a lot about marketing operations and how you and we can optimize workflows within agencies and operations.
Thank you, Andy, and good afternoon to everybody.
So let me switch to the, I think now you need to click on that. There it is. So thanks all for joining us. Today we would talk a little bit in the introduction about marketing operations and workflows. And after that, I would love to talk you through and show you our CI Hub connector. I will go into these details in the live demo. The goal for us is to really help everyone who works with assets, regardless if he's in an agency or in a corporate or freelancer, to manage his assets in a lot easier way than before. We all know that we all have our assets, especially if we work with clients in different silos, in different systems, in PIM systems, in MAM systems, in cloud storages. All of these systems getting more and more, and it gets complicated. It gets more complicated to connect to all of these assets. Our goal as CI Hub is to make life a lot easier for everybody who works with assets, regardless if you're a professional working in any of the Adobe product, or if you're in a sales department or marketing department and you need to create and work with your Office products. So that's our goal. That's what we want to explain you a little bit. But before we do that, Fred, it would be a pleasure to hand over to you to give us a little bit more on context. That would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Andy. Maybe as you know, and I'm sure that all of you were following the first two webinars we did for this year. And so during the two first sessions, we are talking a lot about creative operations. And finally, we conclude the fact that, of course, the heart of the creativity is inside the Adobe desktop applications. And so, of course, you need to get something like we are calling plugins, connectors, in order to retrieve such assets. And this is really the purpose and the DNA of CI Hub and performing well. But in the meantime, today, if you are a stakeholder by a brand, large brand, and I'm one of these guys and get the honor to work with some of the large brands today, I can tell you that it makes also sense to be connected to the ecosystem of the enterprise, which is something like looks like this. And I like this diagram from Akeneo because it's really a good representation of finally how it works by most of the large brands in the world. So we have a DAM as a foundation. Most of the time we have master data management at the top, which can be more or less everything. Today I see more and more it's Salesforce, but it can be your MI system, ERP systems, and sometimes with small customer it can be a FileMaker database or something like that. But in between, you need also to get what we are calling a PIM, or Product Information Management, which is just like as a glue in file together all the information from the MDM, able to also to connect to the DAM, and the most important, and which is a great challenge, to distribute the content on all the touch points, print, web, social, etc. And one thing is important is to get these two systems. You have a DAM who is doing his job and the PIM who is doing his job. I know that some of them have been trying to do everything in one time, but definitely this is a good overview and how it works by most of large companies. And the clear representation of that is one of the customer I'm working with. So we have a DAM system, we have a PIM system, we have different stakeholders working on both systems. It's all about the metadata. So it's very important in order to be able to get a schema of DAM, to get the data model for the PIM. And in the meantime, as you can see, we have a lot of people working with the two systems. And you can see sometimes you get agencies, translation agencies, creative agencies, and they are not only connected to a DAM system. And so, of course, the purpose at the end is to synchronize this information. But we really do understand regarding this view that it would be nice if we can connect also your desktop application, your Adobe desktop application with a PIM system. And so, more or less for both of you, if you are familiar with these types of systems, I repeat again, so a DAM system, the database is, the reference of your database is the asset. In the PIM, this is a product, and the product is in fact gathering assets, renditions, different custom fields. But in the middle, one thing you can share is the assets. And the right way to do it is, of course, to get some web services, connectors between the DAM and the PIM. But at the core, we have the assets. And so it's very important to get access to these assets thanks to the a plugin. And so a clear representation are, because of course we are this here, but German company, it was important to get a German brand at the top. And so with this drill, so you can see I pick up the information from Amazon. And this is finally a good representation today. And we saw also this year, that the e-commerce just moved ahead from, just the before, was just exploding. So it means that today we have more than in the US, it's 70% more shops that are done online. In Europe, it's more or less 40%. In France, it's something like 25%. And you can see that this clear representation is we have assets, we have different renditions, we have custom fields. So it's a good representation finally of how it works, how DAM and system can work together. And of course, the image is at the heart of this platform, because you will buy something because you see the right visual. And so, of course, the DAM is at the heart of the creativity. So, but in the meantime, the creativity is so much more than just doing simple things with your image. So, and today, when you're working with InDesign, with Photoshop, with Illustrator, I would say sometimes you need to be maybe an engineer because you have so many features everywhere. But this is really the place where you can really create. And we saw that during the last Adobe Max, where CIAB was one of the main sponsors. We see a lot of, in fact, of insights regarding this, how I can leverage my Adobe desktop application. And one of the purpose of CEO of Adobe during his speech during the introduction and the welcome was, yes, we need one place to gather all this information, one place to share the content, and this is a place of DAM. And so finally, what we can see we have a couple of benefits using plugins with a DAM. So most of designer, and I was again this afternoon with a team, they just want to stay in InDesign. They don't want to do some complex things, just like opening your FTP server or trying to download things. They just want to be connected to the same platform. And in the meantime, when you know how people are working by designer, they have to manage so many contents coming from so many locations. It can be your Getty images, your Adobe stock. It can be some Dropbox or Drive storage. Sometimes it can be a couple of DAM systems, because most freelancers have to work for different agencies. So one place in order to gather all these informations. It's very important also to get an advanced search. I would say that most of the time plugins are very limited at that stage. So you need really to be able, everything that you did inside the DAM, just like your custom metadata or some filters, you should be able to get access to this information, because you need to get some very quick tools in order to retrieve the assets. The other things also, which is very important, is the management of revisions, because of course, alongside your brand marketing campaigns, you always have to retouch your images or to do some corrections. So revision management is one of the main things. And of course, when you are working between freelancers, agencies, stakeholders, the brand suppliers, it's very important to secure this content. So reason why we have some mechanism that we are calling check-in, check-out. So when you check out the files, the file is locked, you can working revisions and move back to the DAM. And so that's really some benefits we can get with the DAM system. So creativity, always creativity, as Adobe is always training since a couple of times, creativity matters. And we see that I put some insight from the in-house creative reports that we have more and more assets to manage. You should know that today we have very high definitions. Just your iPhone, as for example, is just able to capture a 4K video, and 1 hour is 15 gig. So you need also to get access to the creativity is on the video side, and so this amount of content of very high definitions can be an issue sometimes if you are not able to tackle. And so this is one very short representation finally of a workflow, something that you can really do with the plugins, especially with the right ones, able to upload the files. You can also start from Photoshop. My photographer just came back from an event. I've do some quick selection, uploading from Photoshop to DAM. I have to do some retouching alongside some workflows and some corrections I have to do. And of course, at the end of the day, you need to deliver the content. And so that's this is the challenge to do, and this is really something you can do today with a DAM and the good plugin. And I think now, Andy, this is your stage.
Thanks a lot, Fred. I think that's always very good to have the context and really understand the whole scope of the possibilities and of the challenges you have in marketing operations. Before I go into all of my slides, I thought it's maybe more useful for all of you if I skip my slides and if we just go into the system. Let me just switch from my presentation into, and I selected InDesign to start with. Let me just find my InDesign. Just give me a second. That's unusual here. What happens? I'm very sorry. Ta-da! There is my InDesign. So we've talked about the challenge that we believe that an asset should always be right where you need it, so right within the application. So what we've did is, and I'm here in InDesign, I will show you later Adobe Premiere. The plugin itself runs in InDesign, in Photoshop, in Illustrator, in Premiere Pro, in After Effects, and in InCopy. And everything what I show you in InDesign works on all the other products more or less the same. So the core benefit within the plugin is that you can connect from within the plugin to all of the systems you need for your work. And imagine you're an agency, you work for 3 different customers, then I would assume that you have at least 9 different sources where you get your images from. That could be the customer's account in Getty or in Shutterstock. That can be maybe a Dropbox where you share files, and maybe you have your system where you have your assets stored in. It's very easy to have these multiple connections and to set them up. To create a new connection, and I'm missing here in my actual list connection to my Adobe stock. You get a list of all the connections which are available, and we're working heavily on it to get all the relevant systems onto our platform. In the moment, we have 27, something like that, and you will see about 40 by the end of the year. So let me just select my Adobe stock. It's completely OpenOut 2 compatible. That means it's very secure. We're using an Okta backend system. That means we can work with SAML. We can easily do integrations into corporate infrastructures and using corporate users and corporate passwords. I'm now logged into my Adobe stock. I got all my allowances, and there is a new connector which is called Adobe stock to my system. And now I can start working with that. I can just select in my navigation on what kind of system I want to work with. I have selected my Dropbox. I can go into my demo folder. I can go to my templates, InDesign, and you can easily navigate through your whole system. You can do that if you navigate through the folders. We also support full text search, so you can easily search of all your assets. A couple of features which we also have in here. You see, I'm in my Dropbox now. I have my InDesign documents, and what you also may notice here, without opening my InDesign files, I get a full preview of all the pages within my document. So I don't need to open that and download that asset. If I'm not sure which it is, I can just scroll through and say, this is the one I would like to work with. You just do a right click and say, open it in InDesign, and it immediately opens in your InDesign. If it's an image and you say open in Photoshop, it would open in Photoshop. And if you say open and insert or open and link, it would open an InDesign document in InDesign or an image in Photoshop, or you open an image on a layer in Photoshop. All these possibilities are completely there. In a typical situation, and you already, I think, noticed that, I opened my InDesign document, and because this InDesign document I'm opened on my machine the first time, you immediately see that I get a link error because, as expected, the images are still in my Dropbox and not on my local drive, and I get these error messages. We made it very simple to work together and share assets across organizations, because I'm opening that InDesign. I just go onto my links panel, and within my links panel, I immediately get the information that my InDesign document has 4 different images. They all come from the Dropbox. They are locally not available, but they are in my Dropbox. And I immediately get the information that some of these images, there are newer versions in my Dropbox than I have locally. First, to relink these assets, and this is actually something what you only need to do once, you just click on relink these 4 images at once. You have a target folder, you select which kind of resolution you want. The Dropbox gives us a couple of different renditions. You have the original file, but you also can work with low res or with different resolutions. I keep the original one. I click on OK, and it immediately relinks all of my assets from the Dropbox to my local file. Tack, it's done. And you see these assets are not longer with a warning signal, but they are already linked to my asset. And you get a lot of detailed information about that asset. You get the information where it is. You get the remote ID, or URL it's called. You get the information where that image is, which makes it very handy. If you have a large document and you don't know where that image is, you just click on the page and you immediately jump to that page. And you may have noticed here, the system gives you the information that within my Dropbox, there are 4 different versions of that image. And what I also can do, I can not just switch between different resolutions of my image, I can also switch with one click to a different version of my image. So I just click on OK, and it will now change my image immediately to the version I have selected. And because this is the most recent version, I also have the information that there is no newer version because I have selected the newest version. And you see that we've checking that this image we're using now has the same size and the same date stamp as the one as I'm using in my design. So it's very, very simple to keep up to date and to work with your colleagues within an organization. That makes it very, very handy. If I want to use a different image, I can now go and go again to my folder navigation, say, let me go to my images folder, because I don't like that image. Maybe I find something else in my, that's lamps. Maybe I find something else in my repository, and I could even switch to some other image. But what I also can do is, because I'm figuring out I have already used all of these images, yeah, I would like to get an image which is, let me see if I find some other chair. So maybe I like that image, but I've already used that. So wouldn't it be cool if I just make a right click and say, show me all images which are similar in my connected Shutterstock or in my connected Adobe images, Adobe stock. So I just go here and say, give me a similarity search of that image from within Adobe stock. And as I said, I just do a click, and now I get all images from Adobe stock. And again, this would work in Shutterstock, in Getty Images, in iStock, in all of the systems you're connected automatically from within. And as you would expect, I can filter all of these information, can say, no, I would like to insert something which is more green. So give me all images which have a chair, but which are green. Yeah. And now I can say, that's the one I would like to have. And what I can do is replace and link. I just click on that and it would automatically replace here. If I would like to purchase that image, I just would click on that open in browser. It will bring me directly to the stock provider. I can log into that. I can purchase that image. And as soon as I would have done that, it would just replace the watermarked version with the high-res version. And if I'm happy with that asset and all of them, what I have done, I would easily just go back to my Dropbox. I can go to my folder again where I have my templates. I go to my layouts. I would save that file. And now I can just say, upload this new version in my Dropbox again. I can select the active document here. I can decide that I not just want to upload my InDesign file, but I would also have a PDF version of it. And I would like to have a package of everything. I just click on OK, and it would now generate the package, generate the PDF, and upload it into my Dropbox as a new version. And to whatever system you're connected, it doesn't matter if it's a binder system or a brand folder system or a Celum system, as long as they support versions and uploading all of that, you would immediately get all the same functions into your connected system. This is really pretty handy and easy. And now I can share that with my colleagues and give them the ability to do their changes. I can delete everything what is on my local drive. Everything is stored back into the system and nothing can go wrong on that. To make navigation within the system easy, let me go back to my images and let me show you. You can again navigate through all of these folders, and you see all the results in that table view, or you can get a list view. We always try to make it very easy for a user and common that he can work with these assets. And if I double click on that asset, I see all of the details which are available. And what is a nice feature, you see that I have that image with the wing. I could now say change that image in here because this is the one I like more, because let me switch that. I would also drag and drop my metadata into my document. And let me just drag it again back. Yeah, you can not just work with images in drag and drop, you can also work with metadata as drag and drop. And imagine you have access to your PIM data, how easy it is now to create a brochure or product information. Just drag the image, drag the metadata, and you're finished with a product brochure. Very simple to do. Whatever the system you're connecting to supports can be done within the plugin and can be made available. So this is a short overview on what you can do within Photoshop. Let me just give you the situation that maybe you're having done a lot of manipulations within your asset system, and now you would like to be a designer within your PowerPoint, and you would like to use the same functionalities and connect to the same assets. I've just opened my PowerPoint. I do the same connection to my Dropbox or to a different system. And in that case, let me connect, let me use my Dropbox here. I can also drag and drop images and metadata in the same way as I just did that in InDesign. I can also go to my templates. I see a preview of my templates. I just double click on that, say open in PowerPoint, and it immediately opens my document. And the same things I did before, I can do here. I can switch the image. I can work with my metadata. I can make sure that I'm always using the same and latest asset. And it's just drag and drop. Let me go to my image here. And also, which is neat, let me just show it to you here. If you have connected to a system which delivers you different renditions, then the same option to use different resolutions, not just a high-res image, can be used here in PowerPoint in the same easy way. Let me just go to my metadata and drag and drop a different image into my PowerPoint in here. Get a suggestion on how it could look. And this is how easy it is to work with your assets in the Microsoft environment. What we do support is Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, all the same functionalities across the whole board. Same administration. If you have installed that within your corporate, then it's the same ID you're using to log in, and it's the same way on how to administrate across the platform. And as one more example, let me show you, and I don't know how many people we have in the audience that work with videos or with animations. We do support to work within the CI panel in Premiere or in After Effects. And I find here is a very, very nice feature. I don't know if you're working with high-res and with low-res projects, but I found always that working with my assets, and these assets are stored in a remote location in my timeline, always a little bit cumbersome. So what we've did is, in the same way as you can open a PowerPoint or an InDesign file, you can open a project file. And when I open my project file, I can just drag and drop my project file in my timeline here. You see, this is my timeline and my project. And what you now see is all my files are missing because my high-res or my low-res video assets are not on my local drive yet. And I can again use the same functionality as I did before. I can just click on my link panel and can relink the files from my remote location to my project folder just with a click. And you see all of these files are missing. This is why it's red. They are locally not available, but they are in that case in my Dropbox. I just click on that button. I click OK, and it normally would immediately load all of my assets into my project. I have changed something in my presentation, so but it would work, don't worry. Okay, this is a very quick overview on how the CI Hub panel works within different environments, within different functionalities. Again, it's already connecting to a lot of the major providers of DAM and cloud storage and PIM systems. There will be a big announcement next week with PIM Core and the integration into a PIM system. And this is something what is very, very important for lots of our larger customers, is that you're not just working with a structure that assigns all of the data around an asset, but also about the ability to use a SKU or a product and have every information around the product, including multiple images and different informations. That's a quick run through. I assume there are questions, and I'm really happy to answer all of these questions in our Q&A session at the end. Let me go back to my presentation and give you a little bit of more overview on the long-term and idea which is on our roadmap in addition. As you see, we see that that plugin is a very central point to make working with assets from different sources a lot easier and a lot more comfortable and a lot more efficient than it is today. And imagine you have to create a brochure or a product flyer where you have images from a DAM system and product data from a PIM system, and maybe a price information from your ERP system. With the ability within CI Hub to connect to these different sources at the same time, you can interact a lot more easy with that content. And as we believe that it's a lot easier to do the integration to the different data sources on the point where the people needs the asset in the desktop, it is a lot faster to implement, and the cost for integration of different silos is a lot less than if you try to do lots of back-end synchronization in large projects. So this is also a very, very quick win. Within the panel, you see functionalities to read with your assets. You can write, so the ability to write back metadata directly from your InDesign or your Photoshop is a functionality which is supported. And we are working on integrating functionalities like a workflow. So imagine you're connected to an Asana system where you have your workflow tasks. What wouldn't it be cool if you're as a designer in an organization, you're not searching for your assets, but you get a work order, please retouch a certain asset. That asset is directly connected to your work order. You just click on let me work on that. It opens that asset. It comes from your DAM system. You work on the asset, you do your retouching, you upload the version into your asset system again, and you tick, I'm done with my job in Asana, and you move that task to the next person. And it's all within the product you're using. You don't have to switch. You don't have to leave the application where you're in. That makes a lot of things easier, and within an organization gives you a lot more control of your assets, because normally the last information you get is someone downloaded an asset. If you're using that asset within the CI Hub plugin, you get the information in which InDesign, on what page, on what site, on which X and Y position is what image and where does it came from and what is the ID. So there's a lot of functionalities in that helps make things easier. Nice example is an integration which is upcoming. There will be a functionality to automatically check the legal status of images you're using within your document based on a timeline, based on a region, and based on the usage. And it gives you automatically the overview if you can use that image or the set of images in your InDesign or in your layers based on these given informations. This is something what makes it really handy for users to speed up the process. I don't know why. Sorry for mixing my. So that's a short overview on a couple of systems we have connected. I'm happy to take questions on all of these different integrations and functionalities. And to try the system, it's very simple. Just go to exchange.adobe.com or go to the Office store in the Microsoft environment, search for CI Hub, create an ID, and you can get a 30-day trial, which is very simple to do. Try it out. There is no risk. You can connect to all of the systems which are available, Dropbox, Google Drive, Adobe CC library. So everything's already in. There's no extra cost. Try it out and let us know on how you like that. So that's my quick walkthrough. Fred and I would be more than happy if you have some questions. Then we would love to answer these. Fred, do we have some questions already? Oh yeah, I see we have a lot.
Thank you very much, Andy, for this great demonstration. One thing maybe I can add at the top, because it's good to do some PowerPoint presentation, to do some demo live, but I'm one of these guys who implemented your system and put in production the plugins with some DAM system. And we have a very good feedback. It works fine, it's stable, and it's simply just doing the job. So congrats to your team. Maybe first question I can ask you is, yeah, we saw some applications in your bottom of your connectors, just like the Sketch application. So do you have something also coming with other application beyond Adobe or Microsoft?
Yes, we believe that it does make sense for organizations to have a plugin that works across different application families, as we call it. On our roadmap is something like Sketch and XD, but you will see the same functionality in your web CMS systems in the same way. Wouldn't it be cool to have your HubSpot and easily access your assets wherever they are, or your WordPress system? That's on our roadmap and will come.
I've got one question regarding the fact that you were explaining that about multiple agencies connections, and the question is about that one of our attendees is assuming the fact that multiple regions access is managed the same experience regarding the region you are. So so maybe
So in that case, so multiple, what we can do with the backend is, first of all, CI Hub is not storing anything. So wherever your repository of data is, and maybe you have different repositories, one in an AWS and one in Europe and one in Asia, you can just decide on where to connect to. The upload and download of assets never happens within CI Hub. It always is a direct connection between the client and the backend system. And we even have done integrations in agencies where they have local repositories for the high-res files, but they're using a central DAM system as a repository where they have the information, what assets do we have, and if you want to have the high-res asset, we're just connecting to an S3 bucket. So the whole system is built in a way that you can work globally with it. Whenever you have a fast storage or a slow storage, we are using what we connect to.
Okay.
There is a question. Now I see the question. There is a question.
Yeah.
Does that then save everything as a package in your final repository? Yes, it does. If you say, please upload my InDesign file and create a package, it creates a package of the whole file. What we make available is that you can decide if it also should have the images in the package, because at the end, if you're connecting to a DAM system where the assets are in, then you don't need to have the assets again in the package, because if you download that package, then you can automatically use the relink function into the asset system again, so you don't need to double the storage on that one.
And you can also upload a PDF regarding the job options, your preset in InDesign. One question regarding the check-in, check-out, so maybe you can give more details about the mechanism.
Yes, I did not show that. There is the ability to lock and unlock assets. Every system does that a little bit different. In general, you can lock assets when you have checked them out, and that would prevent others to upload these assets and create a new version while you're working. But even if the system is so clever that it would tell you that there is a new version of my video asset, and with the relink panel would give you the ability to just update the newer asset into your timeline. That makes it very easy to collaborate with people, even on videos or in After Effects.
We have one question regarding the compatibility here with other versions of Adobe.
Yep. Actually, we support all backward versions till CS6. Sure, Adobe is changing things in his CEP, but we always try to be backward compatible. And more important, whenever there is an update for Adobe, there is no need to do an update of the plugin. Because of the technology we're using, there is no C++ code in it. That means it's very easy to administrate in large organizations. The plugin itself is always up to date without any additional installation or upgrade process.
Okay, thank you. We have also one question regarding some future maybe features regarding workflow management. Or what are you talking? What do you mean by workflow?
So workflow means for us, if you're using a workflow system like Workfront or Asana or other tools, and as I described, we believe that if you're, let's say if you're part of a workflow and you're in the creative department doing retouching work, or if you do design of an asset, then you should not be in a position where someone sends you an information, please take the image number XYZ, and then you have to search for it and do your job. We believe that if you get a job ticket, that can already be assigned to an asset. And when you click on that job ticket, and that will be visible within the CI plugin as a list, you just click on that list item, it opens up the task and the corresponding asset, you do your job, and you check it back into the system, you mark the workflow part as done, and you're good to go. So we believe that you should not need to switch to different applications or web browsers to get your asset and then go back to your main application and do your job. We think that everything should be in your application. The idea of assets at your fingertips is really, the asset should be where you do your job and not somewhere else where you have to navigate through, where you have to log in extra, where you have to remember the URLs, where you have to have different search mechanisms. Imagine you have a DAM system and you have to find assets in Adobe Stock and in Getty Images and in your DAM system. 3 different ways on how to navigate. That takes a lot of time, And we all know that time is something very valuable, and we want to make that a lot easier.
Yeah, thank you. And I can, of course, I confirm the fact that I was using your plugin with 2 DAM systems with workflow capabilities, and it was working fine. Of course, we were talking about DAM and PIM, and so we have one question regarding the next milestone, which is the portal of a brand, which is the CMS, and we have a question regarding your connection with Typo Drive, Typo 3.
Yep, that's a Typo 3, and yes, that's on our plan, definitely. Not just Typo 3, it's also WordPress and the other systems. Wherever you need that asset, we would like to be part of these applications. And because of CI Hub is built purely in a web technology, that's one of the next things on our roadmap. And on our roadmap means it's not end of 2021, it's something more before Easter.
Okay, and we saw that you have a nice smart connections with Adobe Premiere, project management, running your assets and video footage. And so, of course, when we are working in video post-productions, we are sometimes working with tools or integrations, acceleration tools. So regarding the question, it's maybe something like Aspera. So what's your plan finally regarding this video post-production and your plugins?
Can you repeat that question? You mean what?
Yeah, the question was
file acceleration?
Acceleration tools, integration. So I was thinking about the video post-production as, for example.
Yeah, actually, our the CI Hub is agnostic to where the file is. Yeah, as long as the single source of truth, yeah, can tell us in this circumstance you should take the high-res asset from that location, or in other circumstances from this location. That's already built into our capabilities. Yeah, so if a backend system, if a connected system supports things like that, we can make use out of that. Absolutely. Just to make that clear, just one point, just to make that clear, CI Hub is never touching, copying, or storing the assets we are working with. Yeah, there's never a duplication of assets, so we're not really have some file acceleration tools included or working with, but if the DAM system supports something like that, we can also make use out of that. Yeah, our platform is completely open to these kind of systems.
You are talking about, when we are talking about workflows, about a system like Workfront, or maybe something we can say now Adobe Workfront. Do you have some plan regarding connection to Workfront?
Definitely, yes, especially after it's now part of the Adobe family. Yes, this is something what is on our list. We always try, we're completely open. If some DAM vendors come to us and says, we would like to have that integrated, they are more than welcome. And that's not just DAM vendors, it's PIM, it's MAM systems, it's workflow systems, it's special systems like rights management systems, or acceleration tools or cropping tools. We're completely open, and we are talking to all of these companies and try to find ways on how we can integrate that into our system. Yeah.
We have one good question regarding also, because we know that today assets are rich, and we see also that Adobe is moving ahead around 3D, AR, etc. We have Dimension, which was back again 1 year ago. We have a project which is Aero. So have you got some plan regarding managing 3D assets and Adobe application?
Yes. So our goal is to support every application which allows us to do that. In the Adobe world, there is something like UXP and CEP, what we need to have a programmatic or an API-driven way to be integrated into that application. If that would be the case in Adobe 3D tools, like they mentioned, then we would do that. In the moment, it is not, yeah, so we can't. We have a couple of questions coming up about, now I forgot the name of that new graphic tool from the UK. Help me, Fred.
From the Affinity or things like that?
Affinity Designer. We would love to integrate into Affinity Designer. And I have talked with everyone at that organization that they just don't have an API we could use. So even if there is a huge request from customers, they would love to see that functionality. In the moment, it's just not possible because they don't make that available to us. So any program that allows us to do that, we will support.
Yeah, maybe something you can also say is that I take the example of Dropbox. If you are searching assets in Dropbox, you cannot find the assets because their support of metadata is very limited. But if you try to do exactly the same thing in the plugin, you can retrieve the assets on the, as for example, yes, IPTC informations.
Yes, sometimes that's right. Sometimes the APIs are more capable than the products itself. If that's the case, we use it.
And so we have a good feedback from Anne, who is which is very impressed, and she was waiting for you since so many years. That's a good point.
This is thanks for that. Yeah, you know, our team comes from 20 years of agency experience. Our team started working with Adobe InDesign 1.5. We know a lot of these pains, and we were wondering that that nobody else has really sat down and said, you know, let's develop a connector that connects to the whole ecosystem, because that's really something what people want. Yeah. But at the end, it's understandable, because at the end, Adobe has no interest in developing a connector for the Microsoft world. And maybe the vendor A has no interest to developing something for the vendor B. Our goal is to develop a platform with the focus to the user. And the reality of a user in a corporate or in an agency is that he has to deal with that on a daily basis. He has to connect to a Dropbox or a box or a PIM system or an Adobe Stock for customer A and for another Adobe Stock account for customer B, and 3 different Shutterstock accounts at the same time. And there is no solution as of today. And we get so many good feedback. If you take a look at the 300 reviews we have on Adobe Stock, that's what we really love to hear. Yeah, people were waiting for a solution like that, and we're really proud that we can deliver that. Yeah, and we hear feedback. So there is a very open channel to us. Send us an email about your wishes, or what you would love to see, or what kind of system you would love to have connected. And I'm pretty sure we find ways on putting that on our roadmap and finding ways on how to connect you. The power behind that platform is that is as open as we can, to really give every vendor the ability to work with us and be integrated. It's to the benefit of the user. And I think this is the most important thing, to have the user in our mind and deliver functionalities that makes their life easier. And even if some vendors doesn't like that they connected at the same time with maybe their competitor, it's the reality. Yeah, it's the reality of the users that they use maybe a Dropbox and a box at the same time. And we want to make life easier for them. And that's our daily goal.
It's close to be a nice conclusion, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there are coming some more questions. My suggestion would be, because we have 3 minutes left, I would take all of the questions. We would answer these questions in an email, and we would send an email to all of you with the questions and answers in an anonymous way, and so everybody gets all the informations, and we're happy to share all of that. And again, You can just try it for free for 30 days. Just go to Adobe or Microsoft, download it and play around. And whenever you have an idea, send us an email. Send me an email. Yeah, we take care.
Thank you, Andreas.
Thanks to all the attendees. It was great. It was really cool to have so many people listening in. Thanks to Henry Stewart Events, that was very well organized. Thank you, Janet, and thank you, Fred. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the day wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.